Welcome to Call Frost First, Illinois Injury Law.
Hello and welcome to Call Frost First, Illinois Injury Law. I am your host, Kevin Rosenquist, and today we're diving into deadly trucking accidents on I-90 and rural highways. Joining me is attorney Kevin Frost of Clark, Frost, Zucchi, a Northern Illinois trial lawyer who helps victims of catastrophic truck crashes secure justice. Kevin will explain what makes these accidents so dangerous, the common causes, and what you should do if you're involved. Kevin, welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thanks.
So many people don't realize how much more dangerous trucking accidents are compared to regular car crashes, especially on highways like I-90 or rural roads. What makes these accidents uniquely serious?
The first factor really is just the size and weight of a truck. An average tractor trailer combination can weigh up to 80,000 pounds. That's about 20 times larger than the average 4,000 pound car on the road. So the size of it, the weight of it really can make for disastrous accidents as opposed to a regular car versus car accident. The other areas involving trucking is here in the Rockford area, we live in a major freight distribution hub area, right? So there is an increased level of truck traffic that continues ever since they expanded I-90 out here to 3 lanes in each direction. The volume of traffic has picked up significantly. Mm-hmm. So there's just a lot more trucks on the road in this area that make it, unfortunately, more dangerous.
Yeah, I've driven on I-90 a lot of times. I would not want to be a truck driver doing those routes. I mean, it can be kind of chaotic on there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. What are some of the most common causes that you see behind the most catastrophic truck crashes on I-90?
Well, I think it comes down to inattentive drivers and the lack of probably proper safety policies and procedures for trucking companies these days. You've got a lot of drivers that have entered the market that frankly just aren't professional drivers. You'll see, sometimes as you're driving, you'll notice a semi-truck driver that maybe is on his phone, has his phone in front of him. I mean, I've seen people with iPads on their steering wheels, literally like watching a movie or some video while they're driving down the road. Jeez. So they're not paying attention. Yeah. They're also, I think there's an increased level in fatigue, and that's, increased profit margins by the trucking companies and a lot of these companies that maybe aren't as legitimate as others. So they're pushing these drivers to drive more than they're mandated to drive, which leads to them being inattentive and tired when they're driving. Another factor is the equipment, right? So, brakes and tires, 2 significant aspects on any vehicle, but really important to trucks. Sometimes you'll see all the shrapnel of a retread on the highway when you're driving on the road. They just drive with tires that just aren't safe and they're literally bald. So that causes a great problem when they're trying to brake, to turn, and maneuver.
When you first investigate a trucking accident, what are some of the signs or evidence that raises red flags for liability against the trucking company or driver?
Yeah, I think one of the most important red flags is seeing what safety protocols and policies does the trucking company have in place, and then whether or not they were actually being followed by the company itself and the driver themselves. Again, you're looking at also then at each driver's log to see, were they driving too many hours, right? Is their log accurate or is it somehow misrepresentative? So those are 2 factors. I also think just a lack of supervision, a lack of training on all of these new drivers that you see on the road. They're just not professional. They're not. Go back 20 years when I think truck drivers was more of a professional career, and then and look today at anyone showing up to drive a rig, and the rigs haven't changed much.
What the people have.
I think so. Yeah, I think there's a lack of training and a lack of supervision is a big part of it.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned before about truckers feeling pressure and perhaps driving more than they should. There are there are trucking regulations and they're supposed to be in compliance of that. So how do you kind of gather that information as far as the violations of regulations when you're building a strong case?
Sure. One thing is, the Department of Transportation requires truckers Used to be in a log book. Now a lot of it's done electronically. So that's all information that we'll want to gather on behalf of the truck driver and see, how many days he's been driving in a row, the hours, did he get the proper rest time, to determine whether or not, the driver may have been fatigued.
How common is that?
I think it's pretty common. We've definitely seen it in cases. The increase in technology now is amazing. What information we now can find out from a trucking accident, or frankly, even from a car accident, with the electronic equipment that's on trucks and vehicles these days.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that, the electric logging device, or what a lot of people would refer to as a black box. Can you explain how exactly that works, how that data strengthens your claim, and what you need to do to get it?
Yeah, sure. Well, there's a lot of electronic data recorders that are available in the trucking industry, and even on cases involving a delivery truck, right? Where they want to monitor their drivers, so it'll tell you engine speed, right? It'll tell you the actual speed of the vehicle. It'll show you braking behavior. It'll show you the routes through GPS of where they actually went. So if a driver says, "Oh, I was on Highway 20, but he's really on I-90," it's very easy to see because you can see the pattern of the truck. You can see the duration of the time in which they were driving, where they stopped, how long they were stopped for, and then again, how fast they went between two cities on any given road. It's really amazing. It's like a Google map that's live with the truck activity, and so it's very, very important. And for instance, if a truck driver says, "Well, I approached the intersection, I was going 45 miles an hour because that was a speed limit," and you get the information and you see the truck was going 59 miles an hour, well, there's a little bit of a discrepancy right there.
Mm-hmm. How do you get that data?
We get that data once we're involved in a case. We subpoena the data from the trucking company itself, or sometimes from a third party vendor. It just depends on the systems they have. But it normally through the course of discovery, you're able to get that data.
Do you ever have issues with where it, like, I don't know, gets deleted, quote unquote, somehow?
No, it's you would think it would, but sometimes they maybe don't give you all the data that you asked for the first time. I had a case recently involving a truck that was involved in a backup accident at a construction site, and we had asked for certain times, and there were more than one vehicle on the construction site. So the first time around, we really didn't get the truck we were looking for, but we figured it out, and we re-requested the information, and in the end, we got the information we were looking for. Sometimes they don't want it; they just send it to you raw data, and for instance, there may be a company that's proprietary, and then you have to either contact the company or contact the defense and say, "Hey, look, that's not enough. We need to be able to find a way to actually read and interpret this data."
Mm-hmm. One thing that I think is interesting is the idea of accident reconstruction experts, which is a wild career, but obviously these are really, really important in trucking cases. Can you kind of explain how this process works and why they're so necessary?
And a lot of that information about that data, we rely on the experts for, because they're familiar with the different companies and vendors out there that provide the electronic monitoring systems and the electronic data recorders. So the expert helps with that tremendously. They also help figure out, for instance, we've gone to the scene before with our experts and actually had recreated the accident based on their information, and tried to figure out everything from the point of impact to look whether or not there's some skid marks that can provide useful information. There's something called yaw marks that can be left on the road that can be measured and interpreted. So the reconstructionist really can help put all the technical data together in the form that is more palatable for lawyers, a judge, a jury to understand, based on all of the technical features that he looked at, including the point of impact, the point of rest, issues that would be important to figure out in determining what took place and how it took place.
Yeah, and I imagine, obviously we're all visual people for the most part, and if we can kind of see it, even if it's just see it in our own minds based on the data, like that makes a lot of sense to me. Why that would really be impactful for a jury, particularly.
Yes, and there's video demonstrations. There's 3D demonstrations that can be put together again to show everybody what took place. The 30 seconds prior to the incident, and where the incident took place specifically, and the point of rest, and any issues that are important to the case.
What about cameras? I know obviously there's a lot more dash cameras. There's a lot of dash cameras on cars, but as far as I know, trucks have several cameras oftentimes these days, right?
Yes, they do. And again, that's also important. to see, especially the ones that are recording, to get that information as soon as possible, because sometimes you can actually see the perspective from the driver in a tractor trailer, from his tractor as he's going down the road, what he saw, pre-collision or pre-occurrence.
Mm-hmm. Do they have cameras on the drivers oftentimes?
Yes, some companies actually do have cameras that put both going outside the rig and actually inside the rig to monitor their driver for issues such as fatigue.
Mm-hmm. Or perhaps that tablet you were talking about that was up
Yeah,
there
right.
watching a movie.
Yeah, they don't. Most companies do not want their drivers watching a YouTube video while driving down the road. Sure.
I would prefer they don't as well, myself. I'm sure we all do.
Yes.
So insurance companies obviously are always going to fight hard to not pay. We all kind of know that at this point. How do insurance coverages and insurers for trucking companies differ from the standard auto policies, and why does that matter for compensation potential as well?
You have increased coverage, you have increased risk, increased liability. So they're commercial carriers. So they're not maybe the name brand ones that you would think of when you think of car companies you see advertised on TV. But they're more sophisticated, right? Before they're going to pay out a large claim, they're going to put the resources and effort into defending their case by getting their own experts, by getting their own traffic crash reconstruction experts themselves. So, they are going to definitely be more scrutinizing of a claim. They're going to have more seasoned adjusters and more seasoned attorneys working on their cases as well. So that's why it's that much more important to have a lawyer that has the experience.
Yeah, I was curious about that, because I feel like it sounds like so far what we're talking about is that these are quite a bit different than your standard. I want to say standard, that sounds bad, but like a regular car crash. Is it a lot more difficult to deal with these claims? Is the process harder? Are the settlements harder?
No, they're definitely more complicated cases. There's a lot more factors at play, like the things we've talked about. On a typical car accident case, you may not get the EDR off the car.
Mm-hmm.
You may not need to hire an expert or an accident reconstructionist. But on trucking cases, especially, they're going to be defended more vigorously. Yes, you need to do that on the plaintiff side. So on behalf of our clients, we need to do that. So the cases take a little bit longer because they're more serious. And unfortunately, because of the nature and extent of the semis involved or box trucks involved, the injuries are more serious. So we're talking a lot about the liability side, and then you have the damages side, which would include our clients' injuries, which also unfortunately could be more extensive.
So I feel like most of us know if you're in a car accident and you're okay, it's really important to take pictures and all that kind of stuff while you're at the scene of the accident, of anything you can. What do you recommend as far as if someone is in a trucking accident? Is there anything different that they should do because these are so different?
Well, truckers have a kit in their glove box that their probably insurance companies gave them with certain things they're supposed to do and not do, statements they're supposed to make and not state. The same goes for the the injured party as well. If you're able, I think the most important thing to do is first get in a safe spot off the road, because a lot of people actually on the interstate, after they're in a collision, there's a chain reaction. So make sure you're in a safe spot first. Mm-hmm. Obviously, if you're able to take photos yourself. If you're not, ask someone else to. If there's a witness there, make sure you get the witness's name. And again, if you're not able to take photos because you're injured, you can maybe ask them if you're able. It depends on really the nature extent of your injuries. Obviously, if you have to be extricated from your vehicle by paramedics and then transported to an ambulance, you're probably not going to be able to do any of that.
No.
Just kind of depends on what you're able to do. I think it's important to really take care of yourself first and worry about some of that later. And now, if you get a call the next day from the insurance company, from the trucking company, the best thing to do is say, hey, look, I'm not feeling that well. Can I call you back? And then the most important thing to do is to call someone like me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. In your experience, how does working with an experienced regional firm like Clark Frost Zucchi give injured clients an advantage?
Well, we've been involved in a wide variety of transportation cases over the years. I've been involved in many trucking cases. I've been involved in cases involving train derailments. I've been involved in helicopter crash cases. So we know transportation quite well. So the advantage is really is our firm's experience and been doing this for nearly 50 years and working on a wide variety of fact patterns and cases and working with a wide variety of experts and dealing with the adjusters and the lawyers. So when if you retain us and the other side gets, when they're involved, they know who we are because of our success.
Well, great stuff. Thanks for that, Kevin. And thank you for tuning in to Call Frost First, Illinois Injury Law. If you or a loved one has been in a serious truck accident on I-90 or any rural highway, don't wait. Reach out to attorney Kevin Frost at Clark Frost Zucchi for guidance and representation. Visit clarkfrost.com to learn more and get started. Don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review so you'll never miss an episode. And remember, when it comes to serious injury cases, timing and experience matter. Call Frost first. Kevin, great to have you here. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.